provocative and informative dialogue rooted in self-evaluation, empathy, and humility. It's When Black Men Talk, located inside Elliot's Loft, and I happen to be Mark Elliott. Appreciate you stopping by and giving an ear. By now, you know I come inside Elliot's Loft and do some thinking, usually sipping on some green tea, some clearly Canadian, or anything for that matter, and start to think a little bit, ponder some, and then start to chat some. But this is no different for this episode. I came in Elliot's Loft, and I started thinking about something that we all experience throughout our life at some point or another. And reality is, how do we handle this when we experience it? That is the key. And that is the focus. And when I say the focus of, I'm speaking of a broken heart. Yes, a broken heart. And a lot of times when we get our heart broken, we're like, I don't want to experience that no more. It hurt. I never want to experience it. I don't. But again, it's part of our human experience in life. It's inevitable. It will happen in one form or fashion. And the old belief is it heals with time. That's an old belief. Yeah. Your heart broke, give it time, it'll heal. You don't need to do anything. Just give it time. Time heals all wounds. Broken hearts, yeah, just give it time. Maybe not. I'm going to venture to say, good chance, probably not. Really. But we tend to believe we just give it time. We do nothing else. Go through the gamut of emotions, the feelings, the thoughts, then whys. Then just one day we wake up and we yarn, and basically our heart is put back together. There's work that's involved. Work needs to be done in the healing process. So I wanted to take a deep dive into a broken heart. A broken heart. And I'm sure when we're experiencing a broken heart, or if we look back at the times we have experienced a broken heart, we may not have thought that a broken heart is a real psychological response to a deep loss. This could be from a breakup of a relationship, a marriage, or the death of a loved one. In reality, broken hearts comes from various things. So it's just not one particular thing that our heart tends to feel the brokenness and give us that pain. But inside of a broken heart, there are hormones that are being triggered, stress hormones. The achiness of a broken heart operates similar to a complex psychological injury. A psychological injury. Psychological. We injure ourselves on the outside. We could break our hand, we could break a finger, and that's considered, a physical injury. But a broken heart, for the most part, operates similar to a complex psychological injury. Keep that at the forefront of the mind. And there are symptoms of a broken heart. And some of the symptoms are close to substance withdrawal. Now, think about that for a second. Substance withdrawal for, let's say someone's on something very addictive and they're trying to pull themselves off of it. It's not easy. A lot of times they quit because they can't. And that is one of the symptoms that's close to when you're experiencing a broken heart. A disruption to sleep, to eating, and you're feeling grief. Sleep and eating, two main factors we need to be healthy and to live a healthy, fulfilling life. And broken heart tends to play with that. It gets in the way of it. The emotional ache activates different mechanisms. And what we really need at that time is patience. Yeah, patience is needed because it kind of helps us with the fluctuating moods. The impulsive reaction is to rush away from the feeling. Rush away from it. Do something, to kind of basically maybe not think about it. And that can be destructive. Some actions leads us to do things that compounds the brokenness, as far as drinking, maybe turning to drugs, doing some things that we think that'll push us away from it. And those things, all it really does is kind of maybe push you away from it temporarily, but it doesn't do anything to help or heal the broken heart. Counter impulsive feeling We need to basically lead into our routines, eat balanced meals. That's very important for our health. And making sleep a priority. Yes, make sleep a priority. And I'm sure when you're having a broken heart, as I said earlier, sleep kind of basically gets played with. Your eating patterns may be affected. All that starts to come sometimes when you have a broken heart. But we are to locate things that will basically help us to relax the mind. We want to focus on regulating the stress hormone. You want to bring the stress hormone down, put ease at the stress hormone. Many of us walk around with remnants of a broken heart for years. Ironically, the stress hormone consistently activates. You don't have to push a button. You don't have to tell it anything. It just does. The stress hormone tears away at one's health, causing symptoms close to anxiety, weight gain, high blood pressure, digestive problems, and it weakens immune functions. Your muscular system tenses up, causing headaches and body aches. Are any of these symptoms sounding familiar to you? I'm sure they are. I'm sure they are. Close to anxiety, weight gain, high blood pressure, digestive problems, weaken our immune functions. Wow. I'm sure we can basically at some point identify and connect with some of those symptoms. But here's what we probably aren't connecting to some of those symptoms. We don't connect them back to a broken heart. When we hear those symptoms, when somebody's experiencing that, we don't think, well, are they dealing with some pain? Are they dealing with some things that are basically at the at the bottom of the high blood pressure, of the weight gain, of the digestive problems, their immune system being weak? Do we kind of bring that back to they're carrying a broken heart? I know we don't. I'm sure we don't. I would even say, if you ask your doctor about those symptoms, you went in for a checkup and you're experiencing some of those symptoms, and they start to check you out, check and see if they diagnose any of those symptoms left over to the impulses of a broken heart. No, they don't even think that, because they're really just trying to tend to the symptoms that you have, and basically at that point medicate the symptoms that you currently have. So I'm pretty sure, and I seriously doubt they think for a second this could be stemming from a broken heart. And I'm not saying that's their place to do so, but I just don't believe they do. For physical and mental well-being, it's imperative that we work through a broken heart. Resist the constant try to understand why. Resist that. Do not idolize the past. It's not going to benefit you. These two factors give a broken heart new life. Every time you try to understand why, when you idolize the past, it just gives it life to live on for a longer period of time. Yes, it gives that broken heart a heartbeat to beat, beat, beat. Here's the ultimate choice. And many of us fail to choose this choice. And the choice is simple, real simple. But ironically, when we're experiencing a broken heart, we don't think of this. Probably because we're focused too much on what we're feeling, what took place, how are we here, how this happened to me. We're going through all that. But here's the ultimate choice, the simple choice. And this should be at the forefront all the time when you're dealing with a broken heart. Give it to God. Give it to God. Heartbreak and grief are heavy, inevitable parts of the human experience. Giving it to God and releasing it to God brings deep comfort, divine presence, and eventually emotional restoration. Deep comfort, a divine presence, emotional restoration. That sounds much better compared to the symptoms we talked about earlier. Much better. So here's the choice. You can, have those symptoms or give it to God and have deep comfort, a divine presence, emotional restoration, deep comfort, a profound sense of physical relaxation, divine presence, closeness, higher power, and human reality, emotional restoration, recovering your psychological energy, healing from emotional exhaustion, and returning to a state of mental balance and peace. Now, I want to make sure I totally understand this. I want to get clarity and make sure I totally get this. So giving it to God, I'm going to experience deep comfort. Deep comfort. I'm going to get a divine presence. And if those two aren't enough reason for me to give it to him, I'm going to experience emotional restoration, recovering my psychological energy, healing from emotional exhaustion. Imagine that. Healing from emotional exhaustion. When you run a race and and you grab a Gatorade or some water to kind of replenish, you give it to God. You're replenished from your emotional exhaustion. And you return back to a state of mental balance and peace. See, we tend to forget when we're hurting that God is close to us. The promise is to gently mend emotional wounds, surrender anxiety, stop housing the remnants of a broken heart. And we're good at doing that. We give it a home. We keep it warm in the winter, a broken heart, the remnants. We cool it in spring and summer. And we even rake the leaves for it when it comes down in the fall. So here's the question of all questions. Why haven't you given it to God? If you're walking around with a broken heart, you experience a broken heart, and you still have the remnants of it, you know you do. Don't lie to yourself. Why haven't you given that to God? Try to come up with a good answer. I'll wait. The reality is there is no good answer. There is none. What is keeping you? Why is that not the choice? Why is that not to move? Give it to God and mentally walk away from it. Give it to God and mentally turn your back and walk away from it. And once you give it, there's no more trying to understand why. Because again, why only gives a broken heart new life? It gives it new air by asking yourself why. And the rub about really trying to figure out why is not going to change anything. It just doesn't. It never does. Give it to God and go to sleep. Yeah, give it to God and go to sleep. You can't sleep? Give it to God. Give it to him. He wants you to. You've been grieving loved ones for years. Why? Realistically, why? I think sometimes we feel if we're not grieving someone that was close and dear to us for months and years, feeling sad and sorrow, we start to believe and think that we may not really love them as much as we thought we did, or maybe not love them at all. And what this tends to do is place your pain in a recycled mental loop. Again, give that to God. Remove yourself from the pain, the heartache, the continuous thinking, the overwhelming feeling. Why? You're never going to accept the answers. You're never going to like the answers. Think about this for a second. Come to me, all you who labor and heavy laden and overwhelmed, and I, God, will cause you to rest. I will ease and relieve and refresh your soul. I will ease and relieve and refresh your soul. Once you know this, and you believe this in your heart, without doubt, you have a conscious choice to carry the grieving at this point. To stay stuck in pain from past relationships, then it's your choice. We all choose to handle things differently. I totally understand it. But once you give it to God, there is no sense of handling it differently. That's the one way to surefire handle it. Give it to God. Our Heavenly Father grants us peace, relieves us, and refresh our soul. That should be the choice. So we can keep trying on our own. We can. Or we can set ourselves free from bondage and hardship, deliverance from a broken heart. The choice is yours. It's just something that I was thinking about here in Elliot's Loft, and I wanted to spend a little time talking about it. And I want to thank you for giving me an ear. And I always say it. God loves you, and I love you too. But if you know who God is, you have that relationship, you know what he is to you, what he promised to you, why are you feeling anything other than peace and joy? I'll catch you with you soon. Take care of yourself.